If you can just wrap up your conversation. Happy Thanksgiving. Oh my goodness. Happy Thanksgiving. Ew. Good. I hope that you are doing something wonderful with family this weekend. If you don't have anything wonderful planned, make sure you connect with somebody here before you leave and say, hey, let's get together for Thanksgiving. Seems like it kind of snuck up this year. Anybody else feel like Thanksgiving is like really early for some reason? Man, it just like, sometimes like I start to see the stuff going on in the stores and you see the direct decorations so you prepare for it. But for some reason this time it just kind of came out of nowhere for me. Seems like everybody just skipped right to Halloween this year. Yeah? Decorations and treats and movies popping up on Netflix. In fact, on Netflix last week, 4 movies with witch were in the title or about witches on the most trending category for last week. There was a witches market and convention yesterday in Cranbrook at the Cranbrook Girl Guides Hall. Perhaps you saw the posters going up around town. Last time that it was hosted here, 3 churches in town arrived on a Sunday morning to their doors being chained and locked. And supposedly there was a little thing saying hexes were placed on it. Likely just placed by one misguided individual, as most practicing Wiccans would say that they are peace-loving and do harm to no one. But due to movies and pop culture and books, it is hard to deny that Wicca and other practices like it are exploding in popularity. So I thought this morning that I would share a little bit about witchcraft and divination and the occult and what it is that God has to say about those things. Wicca sounds pretty interesting on the surface. The word Wicca means to bend or shape nature to your service. And for most, it's a belief in occult practices like astrology, tarot cards, divination, spells, crystals, magic that are based on hidden knowledge about the universe and its mysterious forces. Wiccans worship the mother goddess and her companion, the horned god. They say both of these deities manifest themselves in nature. Now, pop culture has done a great job of realizing that the thought of being able to control spiritual forces around us is something that children and teens are really into, right? Also, the secrecy of these rituals provide a bit of a sense of secret powers that they might have. And then growing up in our school system with lots of talk around protecting the environment, Wicca seems to provide an opportunity to treat nature with great care and reverence. But they are dabbling in things that they have no scope, no reference, and no defense for. I have read and listened to multiple testimonies from people of past witches who were taunted by demons, who were tortured by dreams, who were poisoned by lies. I have been invited to pray over multiple homes where occultists have lived as the current tenants and children are plagued by unwanted bad dreams and unwanted thoughts and mysterious things going on inside of their homes. See, the spiritual world is real, and so is Satan. Wiccans are absolutely right. There is a supernatural world that interacts constantly with the world that we see, smell, and hear that is just outside of our understanding. One testimony from a past witch named Kathy, an ex-Wicca who had an actual physical demonic attack in the middle of one of her spells, had this to say. A lot of women think that by practicing Wicca, worshiping this so-called goddess, that they are celebrating their womanhood. I'm here to tell them there is a lot more to it than that. Lots of them haven't had the experiences I have, but they can and will if they stick with it. It's like the warning on a pack of cigarettes: Wicca is dangerous and could be hazardous to your health. Many Wiccans say that, no, Wicca is harmless and nature-loving, and that it has nothing to do with evil and Satanism and dark forces. And that is exactly what Satan wants them to believe. You know, he loves being deceiving. He loves making pawns of unknowing people. That's his jam. I mean, the Bible tells us that Satan masquerades as an angel of light. Smart people would never worship anything that is overtly evil. And so he tricks them into believing that it's fine until it is too late and the destruction and the killing comes. And it will. Besides that, if that weren't enough, it says, God tells us that we should worship him, not his creation. It is right to care for nature, absolutely. In fact, this was God's first mission for humanity, to care for, to cultivate, to be fruitful and multiply, to take dominion over the land that we were placed in. And we're called to steward the environment well. But Wicca goes too far when they start worshiping nature. Jesus tells his followers in the Gospel of Luke, worship the Lord your God and serve him only. Anything other than that always turns out poorly for people. And the struggle is, each of us were made to worship. And so we're looking for things to worship. And if we aren't worshiping God, we will worship all sorts of other things. The Bible very clearly tells us that divination and any other form of supernatural contact to spirits is forbidden, since it relies on and connects to a supernatural power that is not God. It is ungodly. And prayer to other spirits invites that ungodliness into your midst. And the Bible is super clear. Satan's role is to steal, kill, and destroy. Which of those do you want to invite into your life? Some people who reject Christianity often do it because they don't like the God of the Old Testament. Because he drove evil people from their homes and he killed some tribes. We sometimes forget that these people were killing children overtly, sacrificing them to their so-called gods, and then eating the remains at crazy parties. But in both the Old and New Testament, God is super clear. Old Testament, let no one be found among you who sacrifices his son or daughter in the fire, who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft or casts spells, or who is a medium or spiritist, or who consults the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord, and because of these detestable practices, the Lord your God will drive out those nations before you. And then in the final book and chapter of the Bible, if we got the very beginning, how about at the very end, after Jesus has come? Jesus is super clear in Revelation when he says, blessed are those who wash their robes. This is meaning he's using a metaphor here for Jesus has washed them clean and holy. Blessed are those who wash their robes, that they may have the right to the tree of life and may go through the gates into the city. Outside are the dogs, those who practice magical arts, the sexually immoral, the murderers, the idolaters, and everyone who loves and practices falsehood. See, God has given us a choice. That's what love does. It isn't love unless it has a choice. And so God has made it clear that Wicca is dangerous and incompatible with following Jesus. He made his creation for us to enjoy as a reflection of his character. There is his fingerprint on it, and that's why it's so tempting for people to begin to want to worship it when they get up on the mountain or they get out in the woods or they get out on the lake. It's like, oh, wow. But careful that it doesn't become worship of it, where you give it more time, you give it more energy, you give it more thought than you do God. Wicca may seem attractive and magical and different, but it doesn't lead to an eternal life and relationship with the God of this universe. If you choose Wicca, you cannot choose God as well. Love is a choice. I mean, what if I said to Jody, Jody, I love you, but I also love other women. I hope you're okay with that. How would that go over? Is that really loving Jody then? If I also love something else that is so contrary to the covenant that we've made with one another? He loves us too much to share you with something else. Love and worship God alone. And that is where culture meets Jesus. You know, as we stand up and worship one more time together, maybe just have some moments reflecting on the goodness that God has brought into your life. Maybe have some time repenting of some places where you've been worshiping something other than Him. And also invite Him into what it is, into the words that you're saying here now. Commune with Him as you sing these words. Does that make sense? All right, let's go.